Whenever someone talks about the Redmi Note 6 Pro, I'm immediately reminded about this jolly gentleman from Dubai. Take a look.
Note 6 Pro अभी तक तो लॉन्च भी नहीं हुआ है, लेकिन दुबई है, यहाँ पर क्वांटिटी अवेलेबल है। कितना पीस चाहिए? तो जितना एक लाइक बनता, लाल को काला बनता।
You know, in fact, he'd actually unboxed the Redmi Note 6 Pro a good 2 months before the launch in India. While it is amusing, I'm surprised that Xiaomi had no control over the flow of information or over the leaks themselves. Now that's a topic of discussion for another day. Today, let's talk about the Redmi Note 6 Pro instead, which is launched in India and seems like a small upgrade on paper. But you know what? Looks can be deceiving. Hi, I'm Ashar from Mr. Phone, and let's get down to my first impressions of the newly launched Redmi Note 6 Pro. Before we move on, I want to make a small announcement. The Mr. Phone Awards is going on right now, and we want your help to choose the user category winner. So you know what? Just jump right to the description and take a look at the link and vote over there. Also, if you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the bell icon right next to it to get notified whenever Mr. Phone puts out an awesome new tech video. The major change to the Redmi Note 6 Pro is definitely the camera. Interestingly, Xiaomi is not using a Sony sensor this time. Instead, the company has gone for a Samsung S5 K2L7 sensor for the primary 12 megapixel camera. This sensor has a larger 1.4 micron pixel size compared to the 1.25 micron pixel size on the Redmi Note 5 Pro's primary camera. This sensor is also attached to an f/1.9 aperture lens, which is definitely wider, and therefore theoretically it is supposed to offer better performance in low light. There's also a secondary 5 megapixel depth sensing unit and a 20MP plus 2MP setup on the front, which is why the wider notch. Not just that, Xiaomi has added some cool features to the portrait mode. You can change the level of depth after you've taken the shot. You can also add some cool studio lighting effects and background effects. I really like these new features, but don't know why Xiaomi had to label it artificial intelligence. Oh, there's also a specific AI mode that supposedly improves the contrast and the colors. I haven't had too much time to analyze the phone's cameras, but here are a few samples. From what I could make of the first samples, I see plenty of detail and a very good control over the dynamic range as well with auto HDR on. But you know, Mr. Phone, a camera comparison with other phones is definitely on its way. You can run, you can hide all you want, but you cannot escape the notch. Xiaomi has decided to go the route that it did with most of its other smartphones and has included a notch and a fairly big bottom chin on the Redmi Note 6 Pro as well. This notch is also quite possibly the widest one yet on a phone in this price range because it houses 2 cameras on the front and a lot of sensors as well. That apart, the other minor design change is the fact that the plastic strip now runs along the edges and blends with the metal backplate. Now it is not merely 2 disjointed plastic strips at the top and the bottom like we saw on the Redmi Note 5 Pro. That looked very weird, to be honest. Oh yeah, still no USB Type-C port. None of the explanations from Xiaomi make any sense to me. I think they need to move to USB Type-C port soon. For all intents and purposes, Xiaomi is shying away from any kind of design experiments and playing it very safe. It is high time Xiaomi does something wacky with its budget phones. The Mi 4C is the phone that comes to my mind immediately. As for the internals, the Redmi Note 6 Pro comes with the same Snapdragon 636 system on chip as the Redmi Note 5 Pro. A similar lineup of variants which includes 4GB or 6GB of RAM options and 64GB of storage. And it also has the same 4000 mAh battery but with Qualcomm Quick Charge 3.0 support. Xiaomi is clearly taking the why fix something if it ain't broke philosophy a little too seriously. Having said that, if you don't look at Xiaomi's very own products, these are still great specs, but not class leading for sure. You can now get a phone with Snapdragon 660 SoC for a couple of thousands more. If best performance is what you crave for, phones like the Realme 2 Pro or the Mi A2 might seem like better bets. But the performance delta is not going to be massive for you to really make that distinction. Anyway, in the time that I have spent with the phone, I had a great usage experience. Also, the Redmi Note 6 Pro's best feature might easily be the most overlooked one. The fact that it comes with Wi-Fi pass-through feature that lets you share a Wi-Fi connection with other devices using 2x2 MIMO. How cool is that for a budget phone? And of course, let's not forget the awesome yet underrated IR blaster. I know folks who have configured their ACs and TVs to Xiaomi phones just because it has an infrared blaster. It does come in very handy. As for the software, the phone currently runs on Android 8.0 Oreo with the latest MIUI 10 update. So those were my first impressions of the Redmi Note 6 Pro. And you know what, after spending some time with it, I am slightly intrigued at Xiaomi's strategy of releasing 2 Note Pro phones in the same year. And you know what, the internal specs might not catch the fancy of a lot of folks, but from what I've seen and what I've used, my first impressions are generally very positive, and I think that this does have tangible upgrades over the previous generation Redmi Note Pro phone. Having said that, wait for our full review before you make that purchase. Until next time, this is Ashar from Mr. Phone signing off. Do let us know in the comment section below what phones would you like us to compare with the Redmi Note 6 Pro and what you like about the phone in general. Ta-ta.